Ooh, and we're live. Welcome, everyone. I'm Elana Ostrega. I'm the VP of Marketing at Clearco, and I'm here with Tony Capetola, who's the VP of Marketing and Partnerships at Sales and Orders. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you so much, Elana. Thank you for having me again. Very excited to be here.
Tony and I love doing these, so we're excited to kick this off. We're going to do a little intro to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, some seasonal tips and optimizations for any sort of D2C brands. Hopefully, those listening have their pens and paper or their laptops or their iPads ready to take some notes, because we're about to kick it off with some big stuff. So I actually read something interesting, Tony, yesterday. And that was that 30% of customers purchased from brands they had never purchased from before last Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which I imagine will probably go up this year. And that's pretty huge. That means that like acquisition during this time is actually like more than just a little bit important. This means like you can drive so many new customers and not just repeat customers to purchase from you during this season. So
yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was really interesting. And, you know, in terms of like some optimizations and tips for people listening out there, like when we talk about acquisition and how they might just get started during the season, like what tips would you say in terms of preparation would be really supportive of their plans?
Yeah, of course. And this really could apply to B2C or even B2B businesses, right? And you know, here at Sales and Orders, we focus very much on helping merchants reach and bring shoppers into their store across search engines and social media, product feeds, and advertising campaigns across channels like Google and Microsoft and Facebook and Instagram. And search is, I mean, critical. It's a critical point. And as you just brought up, that metric, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that a lot of that came from search, right? And there's a lot of research right now that's indicating that the vast majority of retail specific searches online are occurring on search engines like Google and Microsoft, right? And both of these channels offer merchants very crucial ways to reach shoppers in those key micro moments of when they're actually intentful on actually purchasing a product, right? They know what they want, they're searching for it. It's very specific. And what merchants really should be focusing on, there's three core pillars specifically to search advertising or search marketing in general. And that's A, making sure that they're getting their products onto these channels and keeping them there and keeping their products healthy, right? And by that I mean you need to have a product feed, and that you need to be able to get this from your store and in onto these channels. And Sales and Orders, we're a platform that allows merchants to do this very effectively and with a lot of automation and simplicity. And you need to make sure that you're keeping your products healthy on these channels, right? And that's borne on the first step. You can get started, you can start advertising, but without a healthy set of products and healthy product data, you stand a chance to lose out on opportunities to reach more consumers when they're searching online using specific key terms, right? And going from there, right? Once you have these product feeds up and you have your products healthy and you have them listed on these channels, and I think Google and Microsoft offer free product listings. Primarily in the U.S., Google released them globally last year. Actually, just last month it would be a year anniversary to Google going global with their free product listings. Microsoft also offers this as well. Shopping campaigns, these product ads that appear at the top of the search results, but across other channels or surfaces, such as the images tab or even the shopping tab, for example. And these are, again, those critical points where people are actually going online and looking on these channels to find those products. And then you can begin to expand or at least address how you're going to reach more consumers when they're doing those searches, and that's through the targeted advertising. And then we kind of go and fall back to things like remarketing and retargeting, which again ties into as you mentioned, there's this first interaction acquisition that's critical, right? But often where merchants kind of forget about is the nurture, right? And how they're going to not only keep the customer, but how they're going to re-engage with them over time. And I think these are the kind of those critical pillars that you really need to be focusing on right now. And another thing akin to these channels with product feeds and advertising are getting your promotions right? Prepared and ready, right? So I'm like going back to the product feed level. Get your promotions ready. I mean, they should have been ready, right? We might be a little late to the game
If you're
here.
not ready yet, get on it.
Too late. It's not too late.
Today's the day. Yeah.
Today is the day, right? And you can use tools within Google Merchant Center. You can use tools within, our platform, Sales and Orders. You can use tools within Microsoft Merchant Center as well. Prepare promotions, deliver them to merchants. I mean, even, for example, shopping ads on Google can display various different types of promotional messaging. There's more native messaging, or that's something that's not necessarily tied to something that you're going to build, like free shipping or even return policies now are becoming really prevalent on shopping ads. But what we're also able to do is include something called merchant promotions, where a special offer message appears on the ad itself. It makes the ad stand out. It appears above the fold normally. And when a consumer's clicking on your ad and clicking on the special offer, you're delivering a promotional code to them, which they then go back to your store and can enter for maybe that's a discount, maybe that's a gift or something along those lines. So these are kind of the parts of the puzzle that merchants really want to be focusing on right now.
Yeah, these feel like table stakes. I mean, listen, during this time we're all guilty of it, right? We search for everything, we look up the products, we know exactly what we want. I think people have intention when they're shopping during this time. They're
Yes.
really seeking out things that they know will be available and they know will be discounted. And so they're looking for that, right? And even leading up to it, sort of pre-season, they're looking for these deals. And that's a really good opportunity for some companies to swoop in and be like, hey, I have this product, I'm putting it on discount, a week before everybody else, right? But I think in doing this research, this is a really, just going back to your notion of retargeting and remarketing, that's a really, really important aspect of this, because there are options, right? And
Yes.
these consumers, they may go to 3, 4, 5 different websites before they actually make their purchase. And so in their intention to make this purchase, you are the one to stand out with the best remarketing and the best retargeting campaigns, whether it be retargeting, that particular audience for visiting that portion of your site, abandonment cart, emails,
Yes.
any sort of nurture sequences that you're doing. Those are the things that are going to bring them back. And building authenticity into every step of this path to this purchase is actually another really key component, as well, is, giving people an understanding of not just I'm discounting this product, but this is a product that you want to be associated with. You want to purchase from my brand because of, all of these reasons. But the retargeting, I think, is really key here. And I think through, the different ways that people can retarget, and email marketing being one of them. Like, we talked about this a little bit in our last live, how important that is. This is another thing that right now people should have this ready. So once you actually, set up your products and you highlight your products and you build your promotions, better make sure that you have your email marketing set up as well in the background. So any tips for people in terms of setting up their nurture sequences or their campaigns in terms of remarketing, so that they can set those up pretty immediately?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the great thing about remarketing, and I'm going to go back to search and a little bit of social here, is right. It's generally very easy, right? It's very easy to set up. It's not a complex endeavor, especially with Google or Microsoft, right? Because you're, instead of having to set up new campaigns, which you can, right? There's a big difference between display remarketing and then what we call audience remarketing, and then we can kind of tie in where Facebook retargeting comes in later on, and this could be across both Facebook and Instagram. But on search, you have dynamic or display remarketing, which is, as you kind of said, it's the ads that follow you around as you leave let's say the e-commerce store itself. You're going to go to another site, maybe another site, and you're going to be followed by ads from that merchant that you had visited previously, and that's a form of display remarketing, right? And it follows based on user behavior over time on different um, websites. But there's also audience remarketing, which is the far more easier and quicker way to get started with this, right? And it's essentially about taking audiences, as you mentioned. A good example would be the abandoned cart merchants, right? Consumers, I'm sorry. So you can go directly into a tool like Google Analytics. Again, you can do this through our platform as well. As you can set up a targeted audience for just the consumers who are abandoning your carts, right? And you can build out a full funnel experience. You can do things like all visitors. You can move on to abandoned cart visitors. You can tie it to a specific page they visited. You can tie it to even people who abandon their checkout, right? And this being done in Google Analytics, you then tie, for example, to your Google Ads account. And if you attach these to, let's say, your shopping campaigns, your shopping ads, right, that normally appear when you just search on Google, have the ability to reappear in search when you search again, right? And this is more contextual, right? This is more audience remarketing, where you're doing targeting the specific users that you had already engaged with your brand. It's less, direct messaging. It's more so just kind of this background message, or this like soft, oh, you're seeing us again, and you might have the opportunity to capture us again, right? So I think
Right.
going not just from search, but we have to look at this as a full funnel retargeting experience, right? And again, with Google, you can even retarget into your Gmail account. So if somebody's logged into their Google account while searching for products or visiting you, you could potentially surface messaging within their Gmail, and this appears now in the promotions tab. But you want to look at retargeting as a full funnel experience. So you want to have retargeting set up across all of your channels, and not just search, but also social as well, because Facebook's an incredible opportunity to enable retargeting, which is dynamic. It's requiring to have the right tracking on your site. But as people leave your site, Facebook does a very good job, and has a tendency to be very profitable from a retargeting level, especially for e-commerce merchants.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned a couple of really important channels there. And I think search is something that, if you haven't delved into search before, and this might be your first opportunity sort of doing anything with search, what would be sort of your best advice for people in, just having really no understanding of how to set it up in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, have the right tools in place, first of all, right? And you want to be able to do this cost effectively at the same time, or I should say cost efficiently. Especially now through the holidays, you're talking about budget planning. You have to maybe hit certain revenue milestones. And you want to also think about, if you whatever you hit last year, you're going to want to try to beat. So with search, you want to have the right tools in place. You can leverage platforms like ours to be able to effectively get your products from your store and onto these channels very easily, right? A couple connections here and there. Generally, we automate everything through API, so we send all your products out to these channels. And then these channels take, often, if it's your first time, by the way, you're going to still be waiting about 3 or 4 days, sometimes up to 5 days, for your products to be approved by these channels. So you want to get started now, and you want to get them onto these channels. You want to be able to monitor when your products actually go to approval status, because that's when they actually can appear in, let's say, free product listings, or you can start to enable and create campaigns to start, targeting based on intent and user keywords, right? There's no keywords involved. This isn't search, right? These aren't text ad campaigns, let's say. Your product data is the critical fulcrum point between getting people from the search network itself and back to your store, right? Because they're using specific keywords. You want your products to show up for these particular terms, and you want to put the right products up front and center, right? So including, let's say, you're a apparel and accessories merchant, making sure that you have clear and concise data around your variants. Let's say color and size. Most people, consumers these days, they're searching using this variant data. So they're saying, I want this polo T-shirt, but I want it in black. I want it obviously in men's. I want it in a size large. And then you have to think about, in terms of the holidays, is that it's the gift giving season. So people are out there searching not just for themselves, but their family and their friends and even their colleagues, right? So they're also driving this intent driven search, because they should know enough about you, right? My wife, or even my mom, if she wants to buy me something, she knows my size, she knows what colors I like. Thanks to mom, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of T-shirts now.
You can drop what you want here if that's easier.
She's no. I have too many black collared T-shirts by this point. But in any case, right? Your close friends and your family, while they're shopping for you, they know who you are, they know what you like, so they're going to be using those real and raw terms as well, and that's very relevant to the consumer, who's then going to click on the ad and then go to the right place.
Yeah, I think consumers know what they want. I think they're
Yes.
very specific. They're very tailored in the way that they search for things. People are not just searching for shirts, like you said, they're searching for black collared shirts.
Yes.
Specifically for you, your mom's searching for that. And I think just emphasizing, what you mentioned before about promotions. That's something that's actually extremely important in terms of setting yourself apart during this like really, really busy season, is how you articulate those promotions, how you set those up, and actually using those promotions to your advantage. And I think one of those promotions, or one of those ways that you can get people to actually, consider purchasing from you versus somebody else, is probably the shipping and fulfillment, and the aspect of offering free shipping, the aspect of offering, like lower fees on things, specifically to your audience. So in terms of shipping and fulfillment, like how can people articulate that effectively? And like, should people be offering free shipping during this time season, knowing that it might be a bit of a blow to their revenue potentially, but they will be capturing, or acquiring rather, customers who could actually turn into promoters for their brands, and end up really just, with the lifetime value of those customers, it makes it all worth it.
Yes, absolutely. And great point. Lifetime value, right? You can't necessarily look at the first click attribution and this is a first time customer who's purchasing from you. How many times over the course of however long are they repurchasing at the same time? But I mean, shipping, fulfillment, I mean, beyond just reaching shoppers, beyond getting them to purchase from you, shipping fulfillment is beyond critical. I mean, probably I would put more emphasis on that than I might put on a lot of things right now, and especially during the holiday season. D2C, B2B, B2C merchants, you're competing not only with all your competitors, but you're competing with, let's say the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world as well, which
Yeah, the big box,
the big box stores,
stores, they've got all the power, they've got all the money, but you have to set yourselves apart.
Yes, yes, and you can deliver this messaging at the right time, right? Not too long ago, Google released something called free and fast annotations for shopping ads. We're one of the partners that were involved in that. So within shopping ads themselves, you can deliver special messaging on the ad cards themselves that say something like, free delivery, 2-day delivery, fast and free, opportunities to surface the free and fast or the free shipping or the delivery timelines very early on in the shopper journey, just when they're capturing them. And this is shown to improve click-through rates. But also, you have to think about what the consumer is going through. There's research to say that upwards of over 50% of people won't even purchase a product. If you can't offer free shipping or something, like you can't really tell them when they're going to get it, right? And we also just recently partnered with Google on a new endeavor, and it's what we call Google Delivery Estimates. And we're one of very few partners that can do this, directly integrated with Merchant Center now. And essentially, now we're able to surface delivery timelines or delivery estimate expectations within the shopping listings themselves, right? This includes free listings, shopping ads, and even buy on Google listings as well, which is more of a marketplace solution where you're selling directly on Google. But it could even say like delivery by X date, right? And there's some criteria that you have to meet. It's pretty straightforward. You're connecting your store through an app like ours to Merchant Center. You're passing critical data over to Google about your order information, and then using that data and using machine learning, Google will then attach the specialized messaging to your various ad units or listing units. It's incredibly exciting. It's something that, as we've seen over time, that Google's really putting a tremendous emphasis on improving the consumer experience, or really bolstering the consumer front end experience, delivering specialized messaging, highlighting critical fulfillment and delivery timelines. I mean, if that isn't enough to tell you that you need to do something about your fulfillment, then I don't know what is, right? Again, competing with the big guys, competing against your own, D2C or B2B merchant competitors. But when the channels are starting to put even more emphasis on this type of messaging, you as a merchant really need to start thinking about how you can begin incorporating this into your overall strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense. And I think people, they want instant gratification. And I think
Yep.
being able to see exactly, I mean, I ordered a book yesterday. It's a great example. They were like, you are going to receive this book on this date. And I knew exactly the date that I was going to receive it. And I want to know that information, right? Either they're going to tell me when I'm going to receive it, or I'm going to order it from somewhere else. And I'm going to find out from that other location when I'm going to actually receive that same item, right? So these things actually make a huge difference to people. Like you said, people are buying gifts. they're buying things for other people, other individuals. They want to know the timelines of when they're going to get it. And I think what that also brought up to me is this, really this notion of personalization. And oftentimes I think it's the smaller guys, it's the smaller brands who can actually offer this level of personalization to their customers versus the sort of big box, Best Buys, Amazons of the world, right? You think it's personalized, but it's really just categorized for you. And I think to a certain extent, having that level of personalization and creating that one-to-one experience with your consumers, I think that's what will win the sale over somebody else, right? So I think just driving that personalization and making sure that you understand your segments and understand your sequential messaging as you're following people through the sequence of events that's happening from search to the retargeting and all of the emails that you're going to send them, and being very, very careful and crafting those messages very thoughtfully. I think that's a huge component as well. And I do want to emphasize that you can ask us questions. So if anybody has any questions about shipping and fulfillment, we are here to answer them. Tony's great at answering questions. I'm okay. But please ask us these questions. I think one of the things that it keeps coming up for us, at least at Clearco, is this notion of data, and this notion that for a lot of brands, especially if they're just starting out, they don't have a lot of data. If they didn't have anything running, last year during this time, they don't have a basis for comparison. They don't really have those benchmark metrics to measure themselves against, and so they need to measure themselves against people in their industry. I do want to plug for a second that Clearco does have a visions dashboard that you can go and choose your category to really understand how people are actually using their marketing dollars this year. And I would say that a fair amount of them are actually using their marketing dollars on search, which goes very much in line with what we were talking about earlier. But supposing that it's their first season, right? I'm going to ask you a question, since we're not, we don't have any coming in, but suppose this is their first season and they don't have a lot of benchmark metrics against, what they had done the year before. Just like, what's a good place to start, right? Like, should they be focusing on multiple channels? Should they be testing different channels? Like what feels like a good and useful starting off point or jumping off point for some of these D2C brands?
Yeah, sure, of course. Now, look, consumers have gone omni-channel, right? That is the consumer purchase journey, right? But again, as you say, merchants that are just getting started out, they don't have the data. I mean, first of all, you need the foundation, right? You need things like conversion tracking. You want to make sure you have the right tools in place to be able to measure your performance over time. Even if it's just the first couple of weeks or couple of months of just starting out in the holiday season. Tools like Google Analytics are critical to e-commerce merchants. No, I would say is I would put a tremendous emphasis on search, just because, again, as I kind of tie back to it, the majority of retail searches are occurring online. They're occurring first on search engines, and this could be window shoppers or people that are intent on purchasing a specific product and engage with a specific type of brand. So I would put a lot of emphasis on search right now, and especially during the holiday season. But it's not to say you shouldn't have certain things prepared to go up afterwards. Again, like we tied in Facebook retargeting. Always good to have the foundation and to get out there and reach the broadest audience possible. Right? It's cast a wide net, right? Especially for merchants that are just getting started, because you really need to test those waters, and then you need to build up enough data to then inform your decisions there on out. Right. And I think with all that data and with that support, you'll be able to then make better data-driven decisions as the time goes on, or even, based maybe in 2022, you can look back to this year's numbers. But even then, it's great to start there. But I think what you keyed on, especially, and what I liked is the nurture experience, right? And it's delivering this very specialized or hyper targeted messaging to specific type of consumers, right? I kind of say this, I think I said it last time, you could drive all the traffic you want to your site, but if you can't convert them, it would be all for naught, right? And sure, ship and fulfillment's a big deal about that, but there's other elements here that merchants are kind of missing on. One of the things that I kind of want to throw in here is we at SalesOwner, we offer a solution for competitor intelligence, actually. So this is a really great tool that will help merchants that are just getting started out And it's a way of us to be able to go out and find your competitors and provide to our merchants a way of understanding where their pricing might be in comparison to their competitors, who their competitors are, and even refine some tools and some rules to potentially reprice products in real time if you can stay competitive with the market share. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity in competitor intelligence to leverage as well. So just kind of like a side note, little plug here. But
It
there's
is really
definitely
important though.
it is.
It's super important. Like if you don't have those initial benchmarks, you have to benchmark yourself against your competitors. Like,
Yep.
what is my direct competitor doing right now? And how can I maybe not one up them, but at least be on the same level playing field as them, right?
Yes.
And I think that's really important and it goes back to what you said. Like, this is an opportunity for you to drive as many people to your site as possible, and you will get them there. Like, I have no doubt that many brands are going to drive people to their site and they're going to bring them in. The question is, once they're actually in your ecosystem, are you doing everything in your power to keep them there? Are you
Yes.
popping up an offer? Are you asking them for their email so that you can send them, have a nurture sequence go out? Are you doing those abandonment cart emails? Are you retargeting them, right? I think all of these things are pretty core to what your strategy needs to be. And I think, like, going back to the testing and searching and trying to set these, benchmarks for yourself, I think right now is one of those times where things are just super expensive. I think, it's going to cost you more money right now to acquire a customer than it may in another time of the year. But going back to lifetime value, if you can maintain that customer over the course of the next 12, 24 months, it would have been well worth it to bring that customer on. And this is your opportunity to set yourself apart from your competitors. That function, like that sort of business intelligence, or that what you were just talking about, it's amazing. We do have a question, and it's in relation exactly to that. What is the name of the competitive analysis tool? This is already it's a sales and order customer, and
Always
they're
love
curious
having a
to know how they
customer
can
here.
use this.
Yes, of course, absolutely. So if you're in your account right now, all you have to do is go into your ad features menu and you should see down at the bottom, it's called the Repricer right now. But the Repricer is what it does as a functionality, is you can actually use rules to reprice your products in real time. If you're a BigCommerce or Shopify merchant, this is in 2 clicks. Very easy. You can set rules like, I want to be $5 below my my next best competitor, let's say, and then you can reprice your product directly back into your store. Non-integrated platforms, you can do this through an export and upload it to your store. Maybe for example, if you're on a non-integrated platform, maybe you're on a custom cart solution. So if you go into your sales and orders account, you go into the ad features menu, you should find it there. You can also hop on live chat 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ask for Scott, ask for Stephanie, ask for Casey. I'm going to just keep throwing them out here, right? Guys, be prepared if you're watching. But yeah, jump in there. You can ask questions. You want to learn more about it. You want a quick demo of it. We're happy to help you out and get you onboarded. Really, the only requirement is you need to have GTINs or UPC codes or EAN codes, because that's what we were able to key off of, right? It doesn't work necessarily for custom goods. You need to have universally identifiable products. Works great for brand name products. I've seen this work really effectively in certain sectors, especially ones that don't have to necessarily deal with like MSRP or MAP pricing, which can be very difficult to get past. But if you have the opportunity to look at who your competitors are and know who is beating you out, right? You can then deliver, if you're going to reprice your products, you can deliver lower pricing in the search results. And then if you start to combine these with all these other great things like delivery estimates, free shipping annotations, things along these lines, you have more of a chance to capture that particular shopper over your competitor, right? With this like detailed and hyper targeted messaging.
Awesome. And we can't emphasize enough how important it is to get started on some of these initiatives. I think, like, if you haven't started yet, it might be a little bit too late, but there's still time.
Never too late.
Yeah, never too late. Check out Sales and Orders. Check out the Visions Dashboard by Clearco. Thank you so much for joining us, Tony, again.
Always.
Always appreciate having chats with you. For anybody else who didn't get to ask their questions, please feel free to drop them. We will respond to them in due time. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.